Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K Now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Edmund, your host for the next few hours, along with Nick.
Hi.
Good morning. And Gal is here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mike is going to be here shortly. Spence is still in Alaska. Today's show is made possible by vMix Software. Oh, I forgot to tell you that our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. So this morning's show is made possible by vMix Software, Telestream's Wirecast software, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So, what else is going on? Kind of a slow week.
Had a discussion this week. Somebody was asking about the whole idea of Apple moving here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was searching. I said, it's still a rumor, right? And the latest news was 2 days ago that there is zero confirmation, there is zero response until now from Apple. So right now, it's still a very, very fat rumor.
Fat?
Yep.
There was something here, another rumor about, what was it? Like, for instance, it says, according to supply chain blog Makotakara, the new iPad Pro models that will be introduced later this year will be slimmer, feature Face ID. Nick loves that. And have no headphone jack.
Great.
Yep.
When I was up in Raleigh last week, I showed Amnon the contraption I have in my car that allows me to play music and charge my phone. What were your thoughts on that, Amnon?
This is a family show. I don't want to.
Showed you my dongle.
Yeah.
Better be careful.
Right now, they are including that dongle with the phone, right?
Well, they include the Lightning to 3.5.
They're not going to anymore.
Really?
Yep.
Now they do make it affordable. It's only like $9.
That's but that's the other thing. The other rumor about the new iPhone that are going to come. They're going to come out, and they said that they are not going to include the Lightning to. Here it goes. Apple will reportedly ditch the 3.5 millimeter to Lightning port headphone dongle with this year's iPhone models. Apple notoriously dropped the headphone jack from the iPhone 7 in 2016. It has included a headphone adapter with every iPhone since to help curb public unease. I guess they figured that the public doesn't care anymore and it's okay. They got used to it, so we don't have to put another 30 cents in there. They're gonna ditch it and they're gonna charge $10 more.
Wait, they're gonna make it worth $20? They're gonna charge $20 for it?
No. I'm saying they're gonna ditch that and raise the price.
I've got to give them credit. I'm genuinely surprised that they charge so little for it.
For the iPhone? Yeah.
No, for those damn adapters.
I don't know.
Apple loves to charge $40 for a mini DisplayPort to DVI adapter or something like that. Something that's so something that you can get for $8 on Amazon.
Yep.
Apple's certified version is 40, 50, 60, $70.
Yep.
So I was surprised when I bought the phone that I was able to buy 2 adapters for $25 with tax.
It's I never understood the Apple cables. I don't understand. To me, a cable is a cable. But somehow with Apple, like for the iPhone, for the iPad, the cables are really, I mean, it's like they have logic. You can use a cable and suddenly it just stops working. And you read and they tell you, yeah, if it's not Apple certified, it'll do this, it'll do that. Come on. I mean, it's a wire. It's got copper from one side to another in a certain order. It's just a cable. So, but instead of buying the Apple wires, cables for my wife's iPad, that I don't know how much they cost, like 20, $30, you can buy a pack of 10 of them on Amazon or on eBay that will cost you about $10. And when it goes bad, okay, you toss it out and you use another and a new one, and everything is working again for, I don't know, 6 months, and then something may happen. It's they. I don't know if they are doing something to their cables that I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what to say about it. But it's weird how many people are losing or losing their cable that they just stop working. Who heard extension cord not doesn't work anymore? Well, the only way is if it gets cut. But if you take care of it and everything, I mean, what stops working about it? That's Apple.
Yep.
But yeah, that Nick needs a whole contraption there to hold the contraption that he's got coming out of his phone. It's an adapter into an adapter into
An
uh,
adapter.
it is ridiculous. It
Yeah.
Because
is
they want to
very
connect
ridiculous.
the AUX to the end power.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
damn me for not having a car that has Bluetooth audio. That's what I deserve.
No.
Yeah, it's a 3 point it's a lightning splitter out of the phone, out of the I want the charger plugs into one side and a 3.5 to lightning cable plugs into the other. It's an interesting device.
Yeah. That's
And the first one that you got did not work, right?
No, I bought one on Amazon that was a lightning splitter to lightning and then to 3.5. It was built into the cable, and that was an unsupported accessory. That did not work.
Yeah.
Every 30 seconds, it would nab me for saying, "Oh, unsupported device. Supported device." I hate Apple. But hey, what are you going to do? Locked into their ecosystem. I'm
It's fine.
screwed.
You use it.
Yeah, I don't have a choice.
break free.
Can't.
Jailbreak.
Can't do it. Too much on the line. Helen mentions distracted driving. Yeah, oh, easily. I mean, yeah, I'm sitting there trying to figure out which one of the dongles isn't plugged in. There you go. Drive my car right off a bridge or something. Who knows? Could sue Apple for him.
As long as if a cop pulls them over, they don't look at this and suspect that he's doing something illegal because it looks
Officer,
like.
I was just playing with my dongle. I was not playing with my dongle while I was driving. Officer, I'm sorry.
Well, I think the moment you open the window and you say, "Look, officer, I have an Apple device here," I say, "Okay, I'll let you go."
I've been through enough hell, officer. I'm sorry.
I have a license. Apple device.
Hold on, my license is on my wallet on my iPhone. Hold on one second here, real quick. Let me get this.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's right. So with our Alexa now, we can actually use it for something. Well, they call it productive.
Oh, really?
Instead of lights and noises, you can keep your home safe from unwanted visitor by playing lengthy audio tracks that sound like real and completely ridiculous conversations.
Really?
When you launch away mode, Alexa will play one of 7 audio tracks penned by comedy writers from SNL, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and UCB.
I'll
These,
test that later.
these include gems like couple has breakup while also trying to watch TV. 2 average guys brainstorm what's unique about themselves so they can start a podcast about it.
Oh, great. Oh, we can do that one on the show right here. That's a great one.
Emergency PTA meeting to discuss memes, fidget spinners, and other teen fads,
Good Lord.
and more. There are conversations from a book club where no one discusses the book, a mom walking her daughter through IKEA assembly over the phone, a stay-at-home mom losing her they just blank, an argument over a board game.
Wow.
Well,
Can you imagine?
I mean, I love the idea, but it's not gonna last, right?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
This is just like what? When you go away, the light that turns on every night at a certain time. Is that what this is for?
Yeah.
Well, for smart homes, you have a lot of interesting solutions with lights turning off when you're
Right.
on and off when you're not in.
Yep.
There's a company where you practically install something at the base of each lamp. You don't need to program anything. It learns automatically the patterns, and when you're not at home, when you're in an away mode, then the lights at the house, they light up very similar to how it would have lighted up if you were at home.
Really?
Yeah. That's one. The others are more complex, where you program through the hub of the smart home. You can program it to either do it randomly at night, or have certain rooms switch on regularly and others randomly. It's getting more and more complex.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's that one, the one with that learns and easy to hook up. It is an interesting concept, definitely, especially for someone who hasn't wired their house yet for smart lights. It's like a quick solution, relatively. I wouldn't say cheap. It's probably as expensive as doing it with Z-Wave or something like that. But yeah.
You were saying before, now this is not going to last, right?
Well, it's not going to last because the patterns, they'll be identifiable.
Yeah. So
right?
I'm wondering why they won't do something there to allow you to record your own, and you have a party at home, so you record it.
Maybe it'll get there.
And this way, everybody, each person, if they want to use it, will have a different thing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of it's kind of funny.
Yeah. It's a great idea. It's probably really fun. By the way, there was something really basic in the Alexa, is if you I don't remember even if you need to install anything. You just say Alexa woof woof, and suddenly it starts barking. And they made something in that app is like it starts barking in a certain dog's tone, right? And then it dies down for a moment, and then once it hears talking, it barks again, but a different dog. So you get this conversation of dogs. It's really funny.
But that means that you need a burglar to come in and go woof woof, right?
Well, it's more to play with the kids. It's not for a burglar, but it's funny. It's
Do they
Yeah.
have an app that simulates background conversation?
Uh-huh.
Like you're having a party, you want some background conversation? That's some big money right there. Somebody needs to develop that.
Yeah, there you go.
well, I'm pretty sure they have an app for white noise. So
Yeah,
I haven't looked for one, but
I'm gonna look for one right now.
Yeah.
Just like just background chatter.
yeah.
Leave that on. Be good.
Well, one problem is I can tell you I got the Fire TV box.
Oh,
It's the box that hooks up to the TV, and
the
so it's
box. The box,
it-
not the stick.
exactly. It's like an Echo and the TV, the Fire HD
Mm-hmm.
box of all meshed into one. So it also turns on the TV, very easy to control. But we were watching an episode of something, and this specific box reacts to Echo, not to Alexa.
Okay.
And there was something that the character said that just caused it to shut down.
Oh boy.
So and I was thinking maybe it's it's just some audio quirk or something. Going back to the same exact point, playing again, it shut down the TV.
So
they need to figure it out.
so I mean, so you couldn't use it.
No, I could use it. Just that specific point in that specific episode would basically tell Echo to shut down somehow. The words
Yeah.
did not sound anywhere near Echo, right? Which is what triggers the cube to listen. But it thought it was being told to turn off or shut down or whatever. That was really strange. I haven't opened a call about that yet, but that was like bizarre.
I found my app. It's called Coffee Shop Sounds.
Yeah.
Alexa transports you straight to a quaint, lively coffee shop. It's perfect as you work, maybe as you read a book. It includes murmured conversations in the background, the sound of the occasional blender whipping up something delicious, and some cutlery from people digging into their snack. I'm going to add this right now and see what happens.
People have too much time on their hands.
It's great.
Yeah, the question is, do they have shouting of unintelligible names?
Oh yes, it does not say Starbucks. It says Peter. You're Peter in here. Your venti frappuccino is ready. All right.
Well,
Excellent. Skill has been enabled. I'll test it shortly.
it'll make a nice conversation thing.
I'll just leave it on all the time.
And if you have a party at home and you only have one other couple, you can put that on and you're going to feel like you have a whole house full.
Oh, what are you blending up? Oh, nothing. It's my Amazon Echo.
Oh, 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. Call us if you have a comment. Oh, boy. Yep. Yep.
Amnon is amused.
I am very amused when I see stuff like this, geez,
Oh man, this is legit.
Yeah.
I'm playing in the background right now.
Legit.
This is really
That's an
legit.
oxymoron.
No,
This is legit.
Oh, this is good. This is exactly what I was looking for. I don't know why.
Okay. Now you have a way of going to sleep, right? You need a white
No,
noise.
I already have a white noise maker. What's the phone number I'm on?
Keep the noise down.
919.
Yeah, I'm gonna
518.
call in real quick from my phone. Oh, it stopped. What? Why did it stop? Oh, do you have to pay for it?
Well,
You said it's big business.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
it's
Hold on.
legit.
Stand by.
Oh.
Okay.
Here's something your way, Gal. Music piracy is falling out of favor as streaming services become more widespread.
Yeah.
Says 1 in 10 people. Oh, somebody's going to say
It's
something.
Nick. It's Nick.
Oh, yeah, it is. Hey,
Now, listen to this. This is fantastic.
all right.
Tell me that's not the greatest thing ever.
Um,
The future is here, ladies and gentlemen. You're experiencing it right now.
yeah, the future is here.
Funny. Well,
Oh,
Oh man, it's 2018, baby. Let's get on board.
yeah. So 1 in 10 people in the UK use illegal downloads,
Hmm.
down from 18% in 2013, according to YouGov's music report. The trend looks set to continue, with 22% of those who get their music illegitimately saying they do not expect to be doing so in 5 years. It is now easier to stream music than to pirate it, said one survey participant. Another respondent said, Spotify has everything from new releases to old songs. It fills the vacuum. There was no longer a need for using unverified sources. This goes to show that the what we were talking about in the early days, that a lot of people pirate not because they don't want to pay for it. It's because it's not available online out there,
Right.
to go and get what you want. You have to get the whole CD or the whole tape or whatever, and you don't want you just want certain things. And
Well, I would say that down 18% has got to be almost exclusively music. I mean,
oh yeah,
Spotify
no,
has
no,
made
this
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing,
Spotify has made torrenting music almost I wouldn't say non-existent, but I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I downloaded a song
right?
from
That's
somewhere that
that's the
wasn't
whole
iTunes.
that's the whole.
Yeah.
The article is about music streaming
Yeah, definitely
is
music.
going
TV is
down.
still a mess,
Yeah.
but music, Spotify's got I mean, I don't know what their market share is, but everybody's got Spotify.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the most important thing to take from this, right, is this is where it's going to go. Piracy is going to diminish. I mean, it's never going to be completely gone, but just because things never do. But the convenience today of pirating TV content is
Mhm.
still easier and cheaper. Piracy is not always free, but it's definitely cheaper, right, than getting it legitimately. You
Yeah.
combine these two aspects, right, and you fix them in the legitimate business, and suddenly everyone is winning, right? The consumer, the producer, the content makers.
Right.
The thing is, though, that and this is the same thing that probably happened in the music industry. A lot of people in the music industry, they hate this, especially if they lived in the golden era before digital downloading,
Mm-hmm.
because their margins have been cut
Big time.
substantially.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means everything has become normalized, right? And that's probably what's going to happen in TV and movies as well. It's just a matter of time, but production values will probably need to go down as well.
Well, that's fine. I mean, that's how it's almost with everything.
Yeah.
It's not just with that. And yeah, if you wanted to go and watch a TV show that that you missed or whatever, sure, you can't just go to the network and say, I just want to watch this, I'll give you 50 cents or a dollar,
Yeah.
whatever. You have to subscribe to cable. You have to subscribe to a service that sells you a whole bunch of them. And that's where it's the
Yeah.
cost. It just doesn't make sense. So I said, nah, I'll pirate and all I want to do is just watch that. Yeah.
Yeah,
A-
it's
And
true.
and Alan is saying in the chat, piracy will never go away as long as availability is choked. Yeah.
Yep.
Put it out there that the music industry thought that they're going to be able to fight and sue the world for downloading music. It didn't work, and they figured out, okay, there are services out there. At least our uh, customers, the musicians, the songwriters, will get money. It's just the things are changing, like you said, Gal. It's not like the old ways where they were making a bunch on each. Now it's just pennies a song, and but I'm sure they're getting money.
Yeah, another aspect. Where did I read that?
It,
I was reading about Napster.
Yeah.
Just to see where they were the first peer-to-peer. I just wanted to validate when peer-to-peer sharing started, and the interesting about the interesting thing about Napster is when they came out, and the movie industry, freaked out about the idea that the whole content is so easy to pirate now, and that they gotta stop it, and they gotta find someone responsible for it. They gauged the they I think they even went to lawmakers and lobbied the idea, and one of the things that they did was uh, they assessed how much piracy is hurting them,
Mm-hmm.
and the numbers were always off because they took assessments of how much piracy was being done, and they inflated them, and they later uh, they later had to come clean about it. So they inflated the numbers by 300% always. Now, they never reduced the numbers because the idea of piracy is usually when scholars are talking about it, is when people pirate content, it doesn't mean they would have paid for it if they needed to, right?
Okay.
So the amount of consumers who are actually pirating is hurting the actual market only around 10% of that amount, and not the 100% of piracy going on, right? So people who pirate are not necessarily those who would have paid if it was available um, uh, for a fee, right?
I'm glad you
Those who
brought that
would
up.
have
Yeah, they always use that statistic. Oh,
yeah,
they look at how much money they lost because everybody pirated. Well, you're
exactly.
right. Not everybody buys, even if they couldn't pirate.
So think about that. The assessments they used the 100% of piracy going on, and they inflated that by 300%, right? While all they needed to do was reduce it to 10% of that
Mm-hmm.
number, right? So the whole discussion was always skewed. And the only image I have in my mind when I'm reading that is the little 6-year-olds kicking and screaming in the supermarket because the mother won't buy him a popsicle. Right? Like, they're taking it away from me. It was never yours. So that's
good analogy. I
how,
like it.
yeah, that's how I always see the lawmakers around it. I'm not saying that their point is completely moot, right? Copyright is important.
Absolutely.
It I'm all for it, but if you're already making $1 billion, right, and somebody's trying to take away from you, even if it's to 100 million, uh, in size. It's a huge chunk. I'm not saying it's small or irrelevant. Is you need to fix the way that 100 million are being perceived. It's not because you are right to you need to protect it, but be proactive about it. Build something that will help reach out to that consumer section. It's not about people wanting to take from you as much as you are not taking these people into account.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So if I steal your car because I wasn't going to buy one for myself, that's okay?
Nope. But a car, a physical item, right, is completely different than creation.
Not under the law.
That might be true, but it's still different.
Yeah,
The whole
that's
idea
personal property.
the whole idea of created content that is distributed upon media, whether digital or analog or anything, right? When we're talking about the song or the movie, there is no physical item. So basically, when I'm making a copy, right, I didn't diminish anything from the original. That's so different than property. And I'm not saying that it's right to take that, right, to copy it and keep it for yourself. But what I am saying is, if there are a lot of people who still think that they can do it, then there's something that you, as the producer, as the creator, as the distributor, can do to reach that audience in a legitimate way. And not for free, not necessarily for free. I mean, look at the internet, right? The solution was the problematic yet really effective marriage between advertising and content for free.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
First of all, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi,
Mike.
so
Shut up, Nick.
so what you're talking about, that according to the law, it's not the same and all that. So what happens when you today print your own part to replace on an item that you bought instead of buying it from somewhere where they make money from it because they are the manufacturer or whatever, but you can print it with a 3D printer and use it? This is actually taking away from them because you say, "No, I'm gonna produce it myself." I think that's worse than downloading a piece of music.
You are overlooking a major difference. In that particular piece that you're talking about, give me an example.
Okay, let's say, I mean, hey, let's even go to the point of people printing their own handguns.
Okay.
They don't have to go and buy anything. Suddenly, all the gun stores the business is down 80% because everybody's printing their own. When it gets to that point,
Okay, that's fine. I understand what you're saying. My question to you is, what gun are they printing? What model is it?
whichever they have.
Well, no, that's important.
I know, whichever they have the plans for.
What make up one?
The Glock 17.
Is it patented?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I mean, nobody can go
Sure.
and
How
do.
long is a Glock? If it's been out over 20 years, it's not patented.
Okay, so I
That's
don't know.
fine. No, you're stepping into it. That's fine.
No, it's fine. So something
If
that
is
is
not
patented.
protected, anybody who wants to can make it. They just can't call it a Glock because that's a different kind of protection. You can make anything you want to if it's not protected against manufacture by
Okay.
a patent.
All right. So what you were saying earlier about the car,
Mm-hmm.
you talking actually about stealing, not pirating, because you go and you steal a car from somebody.
Same thing, M.
Well,
not well.
The
But
word is
but now you don't have a car anymore.
Okay, so I can buy one.
because I took it away from you.
So what you really took from me was money. It just happened to be in the form of a car. And that's what it gets back to,
Okay.
is that by stealing the car, I have to go buy another one. So what you stole from me is the same thing as if you had hacked my bank account, if there was anything in it. But it's the same thing that if I publish my song and it's ripped off by 1 million people, which deprives me of 10,000 sales to go along with what Nick and Gall are using for an example, then those 10,000 sales came out of whose pocket?
Well, but that was the whole point of that article we were talking about. That whole subject is that if you put the song, if your manager would have put the song out there on Spotify and on those services that do charge and do pay you, you would make money. Maybe you're not making like
You
Gal put it.
You're
The
skewing the argument. If you're saying that there are better ways to make money than just selling CDs, I would agree with you.
No. We're talking
Yes,
about
yes,
the
yes.
fact that if the reason why people pirate music is because they don't want to go and pay a whole bunch for a big CD that they don't care about. They want just
Well,
that song.
well, why do they steal cars?
Oh, that's something in their genes.
Hello?
Let's see. Yeah.
Hi, I'm watching the web show.
Yeah.
And I would like to know about Fallout Miami and stuff like that. Like, this guy's making a mod called Fallout Miami, and there was a lot with Bethesda, a lot of consultation with that. Would it be stealing if you use the name?
If you use the name Miami,
Fallout Miami, that's a game.
Fallout is a
yeah.
game made by Bethesda. There's I guess somebody's making a mod called Fallout Miami.
it depends on whether it's protected under the United States trademark law. You go to uspto.gov and do a trademark search. If you can find a registered trademark for that game by that company or any company, then the answer is yes, that would be a trademark violation. And can you use Miami? Yes. What was the other word?
Fallout.
So can you use Fallout? That's different because Miami is primarily geographically descriptive. Fallout is a separate word that has no connection with the game, meaning that it is arbitrary, which is good in trademark law and means that what is Kodak? Kodak is film, Kodak is cameras. What is whatever? I mean, it does tie the word doesn't mean anything. It's not like saying copier. Copier is merely descriptive. You can't appropriate that for your own use, but a word like Fallout, I would assume you can. So the answer to your question is you have to find out if it's protected. That's the first half of the analysis. If it is protected, you can't use it by trademark law. The second is, and this I don't know because I'm not a gamer, Gall and Nick right away knew what you were talking about, which means to me that the mark is well known, meaning that even if it's not federally registered, there are what are called common law copyright, common law rights, meaning that even if they haven't registered, if you put out a utility or whatever it was you said that is confusing to the extent that Nick and Gall think it's manufactured by this other company that owns the mark, then they're going to sue you.
Hmm.
I would call it
Oh,
something.
okay.
I would call it something else. But see, this is interesting. It's an interesting question because the gaming companies, they're not selling CDs and DVDs and USB drives. They're selling games. They're selling something that you can't touch. You can touch the container for it, but you can't touch the game. It doesn't exist except in zeros and ones. And so these are what are called ethereal rights, intellectual property rights. And if you rip off that game, then they don't get paid for that. If you come up with a utility that someone, and what did you say that this was he was going to be writing, Nick?
So this is not a ripoff.
I'm asking the question what it is. What is the product?
It builds on top of the base game and it does some conversions where it changes how things look So it's not a reproduction. You buy the game and then you install this mod and it changes how the game functions.
Mod, that's the word I was looking
Mod,
for.
yes.
Mod. Okay. So here's my question. Does this company support mods or do they fight people who release them?
They do, but they support them through their marketplace.
No, and I didn't understand your answer. If you wrote one today and released it, Nick, would they sue you?
I don't know. That's why I'm giving you the answer. They support modding, but they have a marketplace where they sell mods and take a cut. So they support modding, but through their marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, let me break in, and I'm not into gaming either. Isn't that the same as somebody writing an extension or an add-on to a browser and puts it out there? And if you
Yeah.
want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, don't
Is that
use
right,
it.
Gall?
Exactly.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
he's doing so. He extended the mod into what's the name of our caller?
Red Sky Man.
Right, let's comment. So the mod you mentioned is just correct us if I'm wrong here. It extends the game in such a way that it provides a completely additional game on top of it, right?
Yeah.
So they basically, the person who made this created a new game, something that Bethesda didn't develop. They developed the engine underneath, right? And he just provides a new gaming experience over it, and he calls it Fallout, like Bethesda does. Bethesda has a Fallout New Vegas. This is Fallout Miami, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's infringing on anything except maybe the way he uses Fallout, the Fallout logo in his name, which puts him at risk. But other than that,
Mhm. Well, I would
okay.
disagree with you. But here's the point. Remember that copyright is unauthorized copying. Copyright violation is an unauthorized copying. What it sounds like what you need to do is the question I was asking before, find out what Bethesda does. If they support modding,
They do.
and if they release guidelines about how to release a mod, even if they're going to get a cut, I would be following their guidelines. If you want to do it completely independently of them and not follow their guidelines, you may run into two issues. One is if you use their trademark, they could sue you for trademark infringement. The second is that an unauthorized mod or an unauthorized creation that uses their intellectual property and I'm not, again, I don't know the product. I'm just going by what I've heard here this morning, but this unauthorized could be considered a derivative work. If it is classified as a derivative work under United States copyright law, it is also a copyright infringement and they can and will sue you and will win.
Okay.
What's
So,
interesting about this modding conversation and Rockstar, who is the developer and publisher of Grand Theft Auto, has stepped in this a couple of times. They support modding, and there's plenty of mods for the game. But the second a mod comes out that starts charging, a paid mod comes out. Most mods are distributed on the internet for free, but if I was to make a mod and start charging for it, that's when the publisher tends to come after people. Why is that, Mike?
but because they want to support the platform and the growth. I mean, why is Apple computer irrelevant in the scheme of personal computers? They have their dedicated base. We're not talking about all that because it's a closed platform. There are, if you want to add something to it, you pay through the nose to Apple to get it. It's a closed platform, good or bad. It's a closed platform that limits its applicability. There are a lot of applications you can't get for it. I'm making this up on the games because I'm not a gamer and I don't know, but I would assume that based on what you just said, that if you release a mod and don't charge for it, they're okay with it. But if you charge for it, they come after you. That suggests to me that they want to support an open platform, but they want to make all the money off of it.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know. I was confused on it. Thank you.
Well, I be very careful because the one thing that was just not said in that our discussion we just had is giving away a mod does not exempt you from being liable for copyright infringement. because that is an authorized reproduction of the intellectual property of the gaming company. They say it's okay for you to do that for whatever their reasons are. The fact they say, well, I didn't make any money off of it, that is only one factor in infringement, and it's not a big one. People think it's the biggie. It's not. If you're, let's say, for example, that you guys, Nick's a rock star. He goes into a recording studio, records a song. People hear it and love it. Of course they would, being Nick. He releases it. It goes on the radio. It even makes it onto Wilmington radio. And people go to the internet and they can download it for free. How much money is Nick going to make off of it? Nothing.
0.
Absolutely nothing. So the fact that people put the song out there and gave it away for free does not mean that Nick did not lose money because other people didn't make money on it.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
It's kind of convoluted, but I think that whether you make a profit on it goes more to willfulness than it does to actual infringement. Just I would suggest, so that I want you to get good information, and what I want you to do is to do your homework with Bethesda. Find out what their policies are on mods. Find out. See, some of them even have a trademark use policy. For example, I have no idea who Bethesda is or whether they have one, but it would not surprise me, for example, to find a gaming company that says we support mods under 2 conditions. Number one is that you must not charge for it, and number two, when you identify that mod as working with this game, you must say that this mod works with our game 1, 2, 3. However, we are not affiliated with Bethesda. Period. They may even give you exactly the legend that you have to follow to keep from getting in trouble. If they have that and you do that, you're in good shape. If that doesn't work with your plans, you need to really be careful.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. I have
Good.
to go. Thank you very
Well,
much.
good luck to you.
Take
Let us know
care.
if you get rich.
I don't think
It's
he's
not
the.
me. It's one of my friends who I'm trying to help out. He's making mods and stuff.
Well, good. Good to
It's
hear
an
it.
amazing mod. I'll definitely recommend it to friends.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype.
Tricky. There are a lot of tricky
Yeah.
stuff out there, Mike.
It's actually very clear.
Well, it
I
is
mean-
it is very clear, but it's
So what
there's a lot
happened?
of factors that you were mentioning.
So making money and all that. So what is the difference when you write an app that runs on Android and you put it out there and you charge for it? Can
Android has
Google
Skype.
can
No,
Google
it's-
come after you and say, no?
Yeah,
No.
if you call the app Google searching
Yeah.
the black web.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for the name, but I'm talking about. I mean, if so, does that mean that if he calls his mod, enjoy this, and he doesn't
probably
mention
not
the
a
name
problem.
of the game or anything, that he is not liable? I don't think so.
Well,
Good.
as far as the mode goes, he's not doing anything that the system doesn't allow him, right? He's basing it on the game that people have already bought.
Right.
That's the only way to play this mod. There's no other way, right?
And that's the thing that I'm looking at it. The mod is worthless without the engine.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if you are writing it, that means you're writing it for that engine. You are using the engine in order to make your mod do something, even though you don't come out and say that such and such.
Right. One of the things that this is from the past. I don't think Bethesda has anything to do with that. But you remember ID Software? They made
Oh yeah, of course. It.
Quake, right, and stuff.
Mhm.
So they and I think this is before, because at one point they just made the engine open source, but this was before they made the engine open source. People figured out how to copy the game as is. They modded the content and they released their own versions of the game, right? And you could download it for free, but that was pirated. That's something else, right? So it's all little nuances in the difference. But here, this is a completely new game on top of the existing game, and it creates a completely new experience. I think the only issue here is that he calls it Fallout, and that's probably the only caveat where he's risking himself. Because the
Okay.
designs, everything that he's doing, that is based on what the modding engine provides them. So it's not like he's taking content from the game illegally.
All right. All right. Let's go on.
Must go on.
Logitech announced late last Monday that it is acquiring Blue Microphones
Yep.
for $117 million. The company is known for USB condenser microphones, such as the Snowball and Yeti. They will join Logitech's existing portfolio of brands. That's interesting. Why? I mean, is there a Logitech microphone just a microphone?
They sell headsets. I don't know if
Yeah,
they sell any
but I'm talking about
standalone
just
microphones.
microphone.
Not sure.
Mike, do you know?
I'm not aware of just a Logitech microphone that's not a headset.
Yeah, so maybe that's why they're doing it.
That's business, Amnon. I mean,
Yeah,
anyone could buy Blue mics if you want to. I know the guy who started it, Skipper Wise. He and I were on first name basis back in the good old days.
Looks like they sell one microphone, but it's one of those USB desktop mics that's that kind of looks like it'd be made for a conference room. Other
I
than
actually
that, it's
think
all
it's
headsets.
I think it's a good well. There are two questions on this, two aspects to it, not questions. But Blue started out in actually refurbishing and remanufacturing Neumann U47 and U48 microphones.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
whenever these VF14 tubes were not available, they were ripping the guts out and putting new ones in there. I came really close to buying one time. Skipper had one he was going to sell me, and I just chose not to do it because I already had one. But they were very, very high quality. And what they saw is that they got into the business. They got to know the manufacturing people over in Latvia. They found ways that they could come up with a product very inexpensively, and they were very smart. But they sold the company. I think they sold the company 5 6 years ago. I don't believe they got to benefit from all of the work that they did, other than whatever they cashed out on before. But if you think about it, I mean, I have no idea what, if anything, Logitech's going to do with the professional microphone division, because these microphones, they have $200 and $300 microphones, but they have some $2,000 too, and they're pretty good microphones. Their professional microphones are very good. But the what Logitech is probably after, that I'm aware of, is the Yeti and the Snowball. Those are and if you think about who they sell webcams to, it's perfect connection.
Oh, it is. Yeah, those bundles will be great deal.
Huh?
I mean, and they're in store. I mean, you can go into any Best
Yeah.
Buy and buy they sell the Snowballs and the Yetis, and I mean, I've seen them in many Best Buys and even Walmarts too. They sell the Yeti and the Snowball depending on the location. So
Well, it's the greatest microphone in the world. It deserves to be there.
you make a very good point. I'm sorry.
That was tongue in cheek, folks. It's crap.
It's crap for it's crap for the application that most people use it for.
Yeah, like a microphone. It's a great doorstop. That stand on there is really stable. It doesn't slide on the carpet very well. I mean, it works well for that purpose.
Ta-da!
So Donovan asked a question. He was a little later. We moved on before he asked it. He said, "What do you think about the release of Fortnite for Android bypassing Google Play Store so they don't have to pay the 30% cut to Google?"
So the way that they do it is, Fortnite it's on the Google Play Store. Fortnite is free, but they sell They sell. They have an in-game currency called, I believe it's called V-Bucks, and they sell that. But I think they sell that through their. They sell that through their Epic service, so you're not actually buying it through Google, meaning Google doesn't get the cut. I think that's
Yeah,
what he was
this
referring.
means this is true for all their platforms.
Yeah.
So PlayStation and Xbox as well, which up until now most games had it only through those provisioned stores, those native stores. Yeah, it is interesting. They're also the only game that where you have multi-platform, multi-user games. So if you have a PlayStation and your friend has a PC, you can still play together.
Yeah,
So
and more games moving into that. Rocket
yeah.
League does that. They've started doing that recently. Minecraft, a couple of months ago, maybe even a couple of years ago, introduced with their Realm service. You can play cross-platform, but yeah, they really have done. They really have done a hell of a job with it.
So it's bad luck for Google, I think.
Well, everybody, right? And Microsoft and Sony and everybody else. It's trying to
But I
take a
still
cut.
think it's the right approach.
Oh, they're making a fortune.
Yeah.
Well, why does man, maybe they do, I don't know, but what is the name of this One Plus? Is that one of the Google app Android phones?
Yeah, OnePlus. That's the phone I'm using.
And who else? Who are some of the others that are catching on out there?
ZTE.
Yeah,
Anyway,
they're
whoever
they're
they
also
are,
a Chinese producer, right?
Huawei.
Huawei is another Chinese. Yep.
I mean, why does any of these allow you to install apps on the phone without going through Google Play, or is that part of the Android operating system license agreement?
Oh, they're bound. They're bound in such a way that they cannot create a fork of. They cannot sell their hardware with a different fork of Google that does not have the Google Play ecosystem.
Yeah, but I mean, I
So
thought that all these phones have a thing in
yeah,
there that will allow you to download apps from unknown sources.
Development.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, you can switch it on.
Yeah.
That's something that for Apple devices you need to hack somehow, jailbreak they call it.
Well, this lock vice grip that Apple and Google have on the phones is going to be broken one day. It's got to change because they are now controlling content with censorship.
Well, there are alternatives. It's not and it's not hard to get them. I mean, even for a non-techie, it's not complex. There's like 3 steps you need to do, and then you can
To do what?
to install another ecosystem and another app ecosystem. There's F-Port. That's a huge open source Android market
So
that you
this
can
loads
just
on
install.
top of Android
Yeah,
and allows you
and
to download apps without going through Google Play.
yeah, and of course you have the Amazon ecosystem, which is another huge store, and you can, and these are basically Android apps, and you can install them on any Android. You don't have to use the Google ecosystem.
Well, it's going to be interesting because all three of those companies are very heavily into censorship.
Yeah, but
And
as I said, there are alternatives, and
but
F-Port
they've got to
isn't
go
the only
mainstream.
alternative.
They've got to go mainstream. What percentage of the user base knows how to or is using that?
My guess is very, very low. I don't know if
Insignificant.
I don't have the numbers, but it's low.
It's very, very low. And what I'm saying is that at some point it's going to have to go mainstream.
Well, I can tell you on Samsung phones, out of the box, next to the Google Play, there's a Samsung store, and it's barren. I mean, even the Samsung apps, some of them have been they've considered, and they're being updated through the Google Play store instead of the Samsung App Store. It's a tough act to follow because everything is already there.
But it will crack. It will crack one day. It will have to crack. It's just, I mean, when you look at the who Facebook and Twitter taking 20% loss in value in a week's time, people are getting tired of their nonsense.
I'm not saying it won't. I just don't know. I can't see the catalyst yet.
Well, that's because you're not politically involved.
Maybe. I don't think it's a political choice.
Tell him, Nick.
What you're describing.
Tell him,
It is a
Nick.
purely
Tell him
technical.
politics are going to drive the destruction of the hold that Apple and Google have on the cell phone.
I think there's, I don't know if it'll necessarily destroy it. If it does happen, it may be a driving or a contributing factor. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Apple and Google both have been under a lot of scrutiny for specifically censoring conservative apps from the App Store. Gab.ai is a great example of it.
They will be the first ones to exploit whatever alternative medium is available for distributing.
Yeah. And the reason they blocked a service like Gab is they said that there was hate speech, and in fact there was, because Gab doesn't censor any content.
Twitter doesn't have that.
Well, no, but nevertheless, Gab's whole thing is you as a person censor your own content. If you don't like the F word, you can go into your profile and censor the F word so that you will never see a post that has the F word. But then themselves are not going to do any of that. And
I just really like seeing Trump's head severed from his body with blood all over it on Twitter. I don't want anything offensive though.
Yeah. So they if it happens, which I don't know if it will, but if it does happen, I think
it will crack. I mean,
okay. Well,
just look back and right, you guys don't remember, especially you, Nick, but I remember whenever the United States Justice Department was considering pursuing antitrust actions against Netscape because they had a monopoly on the browser market. Things change for a reason. Nothing's permanent. There's no such thing as permanent success.
And
yeah, but so that's a good point. Nothing. I don't think that the change that came over right on the browser ecosystem was political driven.
No, I'm not saying I'm not saying politics changes all that. I'm saying that when the driver becomes big enough, it moves the object.
Oh yeah.
Whatever it
that I
may
agree. I don't see what I meant is by your describing this as eminent.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm saying it probably will happen. I just don't know what the catalyst will.
I agree, but let me ask you this question: are you concerned about censorship?
Of course.
Are you pissed off about censorship as we sit here this morning?
No, I don't have any specific. No.
And the reason why is because your speech is not being censored.
That's true.
Your ox is not being gored. If things happen that all of a sudden you're having to wear a muzzle to keep from talking, then you're going to get pissed off about it, and then you'll be espousing what I'm espousing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Amnon.
But let's
put Mike on mute.
No.
I knew that.
Let's talking about nothing is permanent. Listen to this. Microsoft is getting ready to replace Windows 10 with the Microsoft Managed Desktop. This will be a desktop as a service, and they call it dAAS, dAAS. Instead of owning Windows, you'll rent it by the month. Microsoft Managed Desktop is a new take. It avoids the latency problem of the older Windows dAAS offering by keeping the bulk of the operating system on your PC, but you will no longer be in charge of your Windows PC. Instead, it will be automatically provisioned and patched for you by Microsoft. Maybe you'll be okay with that. Microsoft has been getting away from the old style desktop model for years now. Just look at Office. Microsoft would much rather have you rent Office via Office 365 than buy Microsoft Office and use it for years. Microsoft Managed Desktop is the first move to replace your desktop with the rented desktop. And the writer says that by 2021, he expects the managed desktop to beat to traditional Windows what Office 365 is to Office today. The wave of the future, or maybe tsunami, depending on your perspective.
Yeah, this idea was created by the Windows 8 team.
I remember when they started talking about this.
Well, this
But
don't give the credit to Windows 8. This started with Google and their Chromebooks.
That was tongue in cheek. Windows 8 was a disaster.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
yeah, what were you saying, Gal? It started with
Google Chrome, where was the first mass production idea of let's keep the client as thin as possible and keep everything online. So the Chromebook. And I mean, their success is, I don't know if it's mild, but it's still a concept that exists out there. But yeah, I don't think so. This news seems to me that is going to piss off gamers, is going to piss off a lot of people who rely on their computer today. I'm not saying it's necessarily bad. I think it's just not a good idea when it comes to Microsoft doing that.
Look what Tim is saying in the chat. He says, "Great, more monthly bills."
Yep.
You know, it's I mean, you buy Windows 10 today and you pay anywhere from $50 to $200 depending where you buy it. And it's yours and you keep using it.
Yep.
So
they say they're going to provision the OS on my machine. Are they going to pay rent for that? For the hard drive space?
They will call you to make sure that you don't have any errors on your computer.
Yeah, they will be calling from India. It's an interesting concept. Who's doing it now? A big time. They do it with Office, but the Photoshop. Who's doing it? Adobe. Apparently,
Creative
you
Cloud CC.
Yeah, I mean it's online.
Yeah, you can't even you can't even buy the most recent versions of Photoshop and After Effects and everything else. Only subscribe. Well, and they're doing the same thing with Office. I mean, 365 is kind of
okay. I don't use 365.
But you also use Office like 2003.
Yeah, at 97.
Yeah, well,
no, but I mean, when you have Office 365,
yeah,
do you pay by the month? Do you pay by the year?
By the month and by the user.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Well, it was you say wow.
How much?
But
how much?
Oh, I don't know. It's
anybody in the chat knows?
Office 365. There's several tiers, so I'll tell you in a second.
I would say anywhere between probably $5 and $15 per user per month, depending on what set of
okay. So to buy Office Professional was something like $400, $500, $600.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
so you get $100 a year or $70 a year per seat. Depends on what you're buying, right?
Yeah.
Then it's actually cheaper.
Well, it's not even that it's just cheaper. It's just that it's always updated.
Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily cheaper. If you would have bought Office, right, for $400,
yeah,
you would probably not upgrade every year. That's the thing. right? You will wait 3
That's
to 4 years
yeah,
until you upgrade. So it's
yeah.
the same price.
Yeah.
But you do get it updated. So there is a plus to it.
The updating is not always a plus. I don't like all the updates. They move stuff around, especially Office. My
Yeah,
God.
but think about this. The side of the update that is important is security. And true, it is always bundled with these new features and these new designs and everything. And that's another discussion. But keeping things updated is important. So
Yeah.
This is a great segue to this. Microsoft has declined to comment on an expert's many complaints about the quality of its recent patches and cadence
Cadence.
cadence of Windows 10 feature updates. Earlier, Susan Bradley of Microsoft MVP, who was who for the past 18 years has volunteered at the time to helping Windows users, took a survey of over 1,800 respondents regarding the Windows 10 update experience. She then sent an open letter to Microsoft executives summarizing the results of the survey and providing thoroughly researched material regarding the poor update experience Windows 10 users have been experiencing. In return, Windows argued in a blog that it gives admins all the tools they need to test and provide feedback before it releases Patch Tuesday updates. So Microsoft now is blaming it on
the admins.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's just it's amazing talking about updates. So it's and can you imagine? I mean, here with Windows, if there is a bad update, you can roll it back. What's going to happen if you don't own that Windows? It's online and you don't have control over it, and something stopped working, another program stopped working. What do you do? What do you do at that point?
You get over it.
No, you take your PC to the
To the dump.
Apple geniuses, right?
It's ridiculous.
It already happens, right? With
Yes.
these little things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It gets bricked.
Right.
They love the word bricked. It's a brick now.
But it's really, really bad. I mean,
Well, we do have the alternative. It's
What?
not as good, but open
Apple?
source OS. No, open source OS. Some of them are really, really, really good, right? But they're not. I don't know if they'll ever be mainstream, though. They don't have the marketing force. They don't have the way of of getting to the public, getting known to the public. I was reading. I was looking at some Linux distros out there, and there was one really interesting one. One of the South American countries. I just don't remember the name right now, so I wouldn't say. Um, maybe Venezuela. The government issue a law where all government offices, all government run system would run on open source system only, and they even created a distribution, a fork of one of the distributions. I don't remember if it was Ubuntu or Debian, but once something on that fork, they created a distribution and they are maintaining it, and that has become the most common OS in that country.
Okay.
That is a bold move, right? Because I mean, there it was probably run with corruption and everything. So I'm not praising that specific distro, but the whole idea is moving to once a platform becomes so ubiquitous, right?
Mhm.
Then the markets align, right? If the government says we're only going to work with applications written for this OS, and that OS is something open, suddenly everything changes, right? Think about just one state in the US, but a very strong state with tech, choosing to work only with Linux from this point forward, right? Do you think games are gonna still stay Windows only? I mean, even if a law that like that came and said, let's use only Apple computers in government, right?
Okay.
Then suddenly the market force of Apple will grow. I mean, of their desktop computers, right? So it's this very strange ecosystems. They change by the need.
Well,
Windows might shoot itself in the foot with this idea.
you're describing a driving factor.
Yeah, definitely
Well, and
a very strong one, right?
yeah, well, and that's the biggest issue with why you haven't seen Linux catch on is there's no driving factors. As crappy as Windows is, as much as we sit here and bitch and complain about Windows, every single one of us is still using it on multiple computers. There is no driving factor yet. Now
Well,
this
we're not using it because it's crappy, and we keep complaining. There are a lot of stuff that we can't do with it.
No, but my point is, but if like for example, if Microsoft started charging you $50 a month to use your copy of Windows, that would be a driving factor.
Yeah.
You would see the Linux support and the Linux user base go through the roof. But because there's a driving factor, there still isn't yet.
Well,
Microsoft hasn't screwed it up enough that people are saying, "All right, to hell with you. We're moving somewhere else."
you and I are really hoping for that, but I
I'm
somehow
waiting for the
feel
gaming industry to do it. I'm waiting for somebody in the gaming industry, and it's the video card manufacturers that need to lead the charge. NVIDIA and AMD, neither of them which have anywhere close to decent Linux support for their video cards. They sell an $1,100 GTX 1080, and you can't run it on Linux. But the drivers are practically non-existent. You're downloading third-party drivers from somebody on GitHub. I mean, that's there's your problem.
I agree.
That's a huge factor. So that's my little rant on gaming. I mean, I wish I could use Linux, but there's no game support on
Yeah,
Linux.
it's like the same thing that happens with electrical cars. When the gas went way up, yeah, the people say, okay, let's buy electric.
Yeah. Audio is
Yeah.
also another big issue on Linux.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a whole bunch of audio drivers, but jack and all that other stuff don't work quite. They're a little more convoluted than the way that Windows handles the WDM or whatever their acronym is.
Let's talk a little bit about internet service. So Comcast is the only choice for 30 million Americans when it comes to broadband speeds of at least 25 megabits downstream and 3 megabits upstream. Charter Communications is the only choice for 38 million Americans. Combined, Comcast and Charter offer service in a majority of US and with almost no overlap. Yet, many Americans are even worse off, living in areas where DSL is the best option. AT&T, Verizon, and other telcos have provided only sub-broadband speeds over copper wires throughout huge part of their territories. The telcos have mostly avoided upgrading their copper network to fiber, except in areas where they face competition from cable companies. These details are in Profiles of Monopoly, Big Cable and Telecom, a report by the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. The full report should be available just last week. The broadband market is broken, the report's conclusion states. Comcast and Charter maintain a monopoly over 68 million people, some 48 million households, which is about 122 million people, subscribe to these cable companies, whereas the four largest telecom companies combined have far fewer subscribers, only 31.6 million households. The large telecom companies have largely abandoned rural America. Their DSL networks overwhelmingly do not support broadband speed, despite years of federal subsidies and many state grant programs.
Oh, you mean they're taking advantage? Oh my god.
Oh,
Huh. I feel like provider may be getting kicked out of a state because of something like
yeah.
this.
What happened with that? Anybody follow? I
Nothing yet.
didn't follow this.
Nothing yet.
Amazing. But don't despair. Don't despair. Look at this. The Federal Communications last week approved new rules that could let Google Fiber and other new ISPs gain faster access to utility poles. The FCC's One Touch Make Ready OTMR rules will let companies attach wires to utility poles without waiting for the other users of the pole to move their own wires. Google Fiber says its deployment has stalled in multiple cities because Comcast and AT&T take a long time to get poles ready for new attachers. One touch make ready rules let new attachers make all of the necessary wire adjustment themselves. In other words, Google can come and move AT&T a foot up to make room for theirs. Comcast urged the FCC to reject One Touch Make Ready proposal, which ensures solely to the benefit of new entrants while unnecessarily risking harm to existing attachers and their customers.
I call BS on that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, come on, it's Comcast.
No, but I mean, not even on that. I mean, you're telling me is that if Google had full right of way access to all those lines, they'd be stringing up cable all throughout Raleigh right now? I don't buy it.
I don't know.
I mean, that may be part of it, but I mean, I don't think that's the whole conversation. If they really wanted to, they would.
Ajit Pai rejected this argument, saying that startups are unnecessarily delayed when they have to wait for incumbent ISPs before hanging wires. And that's true. And here's what he said. He says, for a competitive entrant, especially a small company, breaking into the market can be hard, if not impossible. If your business plan relies on other entities to make room for you on those poles, then it can be impossible. They don't want you there.
Well, I would agree for small companies, but you're telling me Google doesn't have a
Yeah.
Google
solution?
Well,
Fiber
they have,
isn't a big company.
they have
I understand it's not a big company, but it's Google that's behind it. I
Yeah,
mean,
but-
you talk
but-
about a company that's got enough pushing power that can
But
put
they have-
pressure on somebody.
no, but they have to follow the law, and the law
They
says
do, correct.
the rules says no, you can't. You have to wait until they move it. It's like what you call them, unions. You know, you can't pick up your suitcase from here and put it across the room. We have to get the union people to do that.
I just
so
I don't buy that this will fix our competition.
we'll see.
issue.
I mean, I don't know. They said that pole attachment problems represent one of the biggest barriers to broadband deployment. And it's true. Other than that, I mean, they can do everything themselves if they have the money. But this here, they can't.
I recall they were trying, at least here in the triangle, trying to pass some sort of amendment that will allow them to dig shallower grooves into the roads to put their wires. Do you know anything about that?
I have not heard that.
So one of the things they do, right, is they cut like I think they need to go around 3 feet deep
Yeah.
in order to put their
Can't
fiber
do it.
cable,
Yeah.
right? And that there's a lot of already existing infrastructure that deep or in between, and so cutting that deep means a very slow deployment compared to if they would have been allowed to cut only 1 foot deep and put something as closer um, to the ground. Now with fiber, there's no RF interference. There's no problem of keeping it that close to the surface. So, but the laws are not, they're not fixed for that yet. And I remember that was the main issue of deployment, nothing else.
But Gal, there are other problems putting it close, is cutting it. I mean, then every little bit of digging and you cut the cable.
Yeah, but the places that they're talking about putting them are edges of roads. So
Oh,
they will be clearly marked as sections where the cables are passing, not things that go, to your garden. They're talking about something else. But as far as I recall, that was the biggest hurdle. But now they're talking about the poles. So it seems that if we are not working with deploying this, then we know nothing.
no,
I had the pleasure at the age of 16 of working in a work crew digging up cable when cable came to Israel. I was looking for a summer job, and I got this. It lasted 2 days because after the second day, I literally couldn't get up from the bed because I was so strung up physically. It was, but I got to see how they do the deployments, and it was really, 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 really bizarre because they do have these huge machine discs that cut through the road.
yeah.
They can't use it most of the time because there's already existing infrastructure, and they're working with the plans, and most of the time the plans are not updated 100%, so they go with the metal detectors, trying to map up the existing infrastructure on top of the maps, and then after that you hit some pipe that was plastic or something, right? And everything stops, and so it's yeah, it's not. I think the deploying part is always the slowest part. So
True, it is. All right. So you like Mozilla Firefox?
I still like them. Yeah.
Mozilla is rebranding Firefox. The company is asking for feedback on the new look, which will try to cover the various Firefox offerings. For most people, Firefox refers to a browser. But the company wants the brand to encompass all the various apps and services that the Firefox family of internet products cover. It says from easy screenshotting and file sharing to innovative ways to access the internet using voice and virtual reality. The fox with the flaming tail doesn't offer enough design tools to represent this entire product family. So they're asking for feedback.
Like a company trying to determine what people think of their what people think they provide. That's one of the easiest things to do. Force people to say what you offer.
Took me a long time to realize what their logo was. I always thought it was the globe.
That's a fox with his tail wrapped around.
Yeah, but if you look, I mean, you can also look at it, and there are continents there and stuff because they're so small always. But interesting.
I'm sure
They want to grow. That's what they want to do. They want to
they
grow.
want people to know that Firefox is more than just a web browser, but that never works.
Yeah.
Ask Microsoft how well that worked with their Xbox Connect system.
Well, the rebranding is around the symbols that Mozilla provides as part of their ecosystem. So I'm looking at what they're showing. Firefox is still gonna look like a fox.
Well, it has to.
No, so it's all around the Mozilla brand, not so much specifically Firefox, I think. But maybe I'm reading it incorrectly.
I would say most people don't even know what Mozilla is.
Yeah, I agree.
So we all have high speed, don't we?
No, I'm on DSL over here.
Well, did you sleep enough, Nick?
Last night, no.
A study published Friday in the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization and funded by the European Research Council suggests that high speed internet access is causing people to lose up to 25 minutes of sleep per night compared to those without high speed internet.
Sit on my phone for an hour.
So the
before I go
doctor,
to bed every night.
so the doctor is going to give you prescription to cancel high-speed internet. It says it's the first study to casually link broadband access to sleep deprivation. The so-called digitalization of the bedroom, defined by our inability to part with our phones, laptops, televisions before bed, has already been linked to various sleep disorders. As the researchers found, high-speed internet access promotes excessive electronic media use, which has already been shown to have detrimental effects on sleep duration and quality. The effects of high-speed internet access were particularly noticeable in younger age demographics. So, yeah, I mean, just to
I
go
can confirm. I was up till 3:30 playing video games. I had to be up at 8:45 for Computers 2K. Now the internet caused me to be tired.
right. You see,
Okay,
if
but
you
I'm
didn't,
going to challenge some of those findings
okay,
because I to a point, because there are plenty of things that keep you up all night, depending on how old you are, that are distractions, and I mean it is what it is. But there is I mean, to give you an example, we always hear my grandmother fell and broke her hip. That's accepted as something that commonly happens with elderly people.
Mhm.
The fact is that many times their hip breaks and they fall. We've
Yep.
got cause and effect backwards, or we don't really understand cause and effect as well as we think we do. There's actually another aspect of social media in particular that could have an impact that's probably not measured, and that is that, in fact, it's being discovered, it's becoming more obvious now that social media among older generation is actually creating a severe case of loneliness because I guess the best way to describe it would be eating a piece of cake satisfies a sweet tooth. Watching somebody on social media eat a piece of cake doesn't help you a whole lot. There's a lot of disconnect there. A lot of people are finding themselves unfulfilled in their interpersonal relationships because of social media. That also can interfere with sleep patterns because of a general sense of unrest and uneasiness. So, whereas the article is correct that we do have a lot more distractions, I I think that the interest level certainly is higher. I mean, Nick is going to stay up to 3:30 playing video games, but if he had a girlfriend, he could be staying up that late doing other things.
And Nick,
Family friendly show.
Mhm.
What? I
But
mean,
no, exactly. I
knitting,
mean, if I was
knitting,
really stressed out about work and it's a
cooking.
Sunday night, I mean, exactly, I could be up worrying all night about a big meeting I have coming up on Monday.
How do you patch holes in the drywall? I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
things.
What happens when you blow up a transmitter? I mean, yeah, there could be a million things I could be worrying about.
Hit the wrong button. Well,
Yeah.
good too.
So now what I think Amnon is describing a little bit more is, and I do this, is you get ready to go to bed and you play around on your phone for half an hour,
Yep.
browsing Twitter or Reddit. I think, is that more what the study was showing?
Well, I mean that was one of the things. I mean, your phones, your tablets, your TV. It's
Yeah.
it's just electronics that and what you get now. I mean, if you went to bed 30 years ago, chances are you didn't have a TV in your
You'd be
bedroom. Or
you'd be
if you
really
go there,
rested.
what are you going to watch?
Yeah.
So today
Oh, but you
there's
used to watch, but what about watching late night shows? I mean,
true, yeah.
And there's some people I went to school with, so they're my same age that that and this one lady in particular, very, very, very smart lady. She'll periodically say, "Okay, guys, I'm getting off Facebook. I can't take any more of it." And of course, I know reason why is because she is a, a just an amazing reader. She reads probably a book every day or two. And she gets off of social media because she starts getting involved in it. She's is affected by it, and it interferes with her reading. So maybe we need to do studies on whether books cause you to stay up late at night.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
And Alan is exactly right. 40 years ago, people said that relationships and social functioning were undermined by now having cable.
Mhm.
That's a fact.
Yep.
Absolutely a fact. Every
Absolutely.
distraction that allows you to spend time alone doing things that interest you, get your mind out of the gutter, Nick, and that are that minimize social interaction, it can have this deleterious impact that Amnon's talking about in that article. So the article's correct, but I don't know if it's pointing any fingers or
Well, I
any
mean,
cause for concern.
it 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 gives you. I mean, you can now sit and watch Netflix. So you said, "Oh, I'll go sleep in an hour." I mean, remember the 25 minutes is an average. I mean, some people like Nick here is till 3 in the morning. When do you normally go to bed, Nick?
Oh, between
2:30.
11 and
Yeah. See,
between
so
11 and
some
midnight.
people will stay hours over and then be groggy at work the next day.
Yeah.
But it's progress. There's nothing.
I just love
This
I love that this is the first. What did it say? This was the first study?
the first that casually linked it.
Huh. That's weird.
Yeah.
Casually or causally?
Oh shoot! I already threw it away.
It must have been causally.
Maybe it was. I thought it was casually.
I guess it could have been casually too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But it's possible. Yeah. Um.
So what are the question? Okay, now we know what the problem is. What's the solution?
Disconnect. Cut the cord.
Yeah, but that's not true. I mean,
No, I agree
I
with
know.
Amnon, your
Of
wife
course it's not.
but
I'm
hold on.
kidding. I'm
But
kidding.
hold on 1 second. Hold on. Amnon, your wife watches TV late at night.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Every night.
okay, but that's so that not even Netflix, just regular cable
Yeah.
television.
Yeah, that's to avoid having to talk to Amnon.
Yeah, well, it's because he goes to bed at 7:30. I mean, but I mean, it's. I mean,
Look, last night, Katie and Donna were here. We were sitting in the living room and watching TV. It was about 10:30. I got tired. I said, "Hey guys, I'm going to go to bed." Say good night to everybody and went. I don't know what time they left, but yeah, I wanted to go to sleep, and I said, "I'm going to sleep."
yeah.
Now I went to the bedroom, turned on the TV, and watched another half hour of something. I can't remember what it was.
See, you're
Yeah,
you're guilty
yeah,
as charged.
yeah. So,
Guilty.
oh, I'm guilty. Definitely guilty.
But there's some people who stay up all night cleaning their weapons, their guns.
Refrigerators.
You can get distracted by anything, but the problem I'm telling this is in my prediction something that will become more obvious over time. What we're going to find is that with the 40 years ago, like Alan said, with the internet, with cable and all that, the the real issue is the elimination of social interaction.
Mhm.
And Case in point, Nick. Now you think about this without talking too much about it, but you and Gall too. When we go over to Amnon's, we have a great time. It's always a good time whenever we hang out over at Amnon's, even when Nick's there. And I mean, it's different than being online. It's not the same interaction. It's not as sterile. It's not as controlling, as limited. It's a lot more fun. You say things, do things, hear tone of voice, see the facial reaction, see how much Gall eats or doesn't eat. I mean, it's a different interaction. And I believe that the solution is not necessarily to disconnect, but it is. And in fact, I just read a book on this last week. The solution to loneliness is connections. You make connections, in-person connections.
Absolutely.
And that's the
And
difference. And Amnon's Jewish, and that's actually part of the Jewish culture. There's another book, a great book on it. That's sort of where I'm getting my thinking on it. I don't know if you've read it, Gall, but it's called oh shoot, now I've forgotten the name of it.
I never connected it to being Jewish. I mean, it just I
Oh
think
no, it's part of it's not about being Jewish, it's the Jewish culture. I think there's a difference between those two. It's not a religious thing, it's a cultural thing. And it's Daniel Lappin book, for heaven's sakes. I'll tell you in a second. I had it a minute ago.
Well, a great example. I'll be going out to Seattle here in about 3 weeks with the Infection podcast, the video game podcast, and I'm gonna be going out there with people that I've only known online. I mean, we went out to Boston the year prior, but no, you're absolutely right, Mike. It is very different.
Thou shalt prosper. Thou shalt prosper. And it's a book about making money. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's about a Jewish guy writing a book about making money. It's kind of a stereotype, but what he goes into in the book is I mean, I'm not a researcher. I can't prove it. I can only tell you what I think. And I believe it to be true. What he's saying is that there's another saying, always go to the funeral, because when you go to a Jewish funeral, there are a lot of other Jews there. I mean, this is something that's supported in the culture. And this is him saying this, not me. He says that a lot of non-Jews will say, well, yeah, Jews stick together. They only do business with each other. And he said, that's just not true. He
No,
said,
it's
what
not.
happens is because of the Jewish culture, because there's so interaction among Jews, that if you decide you've got to have a new addition built onto your house and you've run into a particular person at multiple events, you become friends and you trust him. He happens to be a Jew. Whom are you going to do business
Yeah,
with?
it's network. It's called networking, right?
And absolutely. But what I'm saying is, what he is saying, not me, is that it's a cultural phenomenon of a Jewish phenomenon. And so again, did the person fall and break their hip, or did they break their hip and fall? I think it's a brilliant book. I highly recommend it.
Hey, Nick,
Yes, sir.
what a segue, when we go to Amnon and having fun. So we're planning to have a Computers 2 Can I get together. One of
Didn't we just
these
didn't
weekends.
Did we
Yeah,
just have one?
Huh?
Yeah, last weekend.
No. I'm talking about getting also members of the audience.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
pool party. Yeah.
Sometimes after Spence gets back here, probably in the fall, and we'll let you know, and
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of the listeners, obviously, from
it'll be really fun.
the olden days of the show, back when it was on radio, are local people.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's maybe
Yeah, I'm gonna challenge you for a second, Mike, about what you made a comment about last Saturday evening when Amnon had all of us over. I didn't feel that our interactions were that much different. I don't know if it's because of the amount of contact that we have online, or if it's I don't know what it is.
I'm telling you, it's different, Nick.
It is.
and-
It is different.
I would agree the first few times it was a little bit different, but now I don't feel that it's quite quite as different.
I'm
Obviously, it was
I'm
my first time
telling you.
meeting Gal. I felt it was a little bit different, but not with you or with Amnon.
I
Yeah,
tell
Mike
you,
is saying he had enough of you.
That's fine.
I tell you what in all the years of being online with bulletin boards and with the internet, you always meet people online. In the early days, we used to call it flaming, and you fight.
this is a good point.
And you always found out that if you met the person even once and talked to them, it completely extinguished that situation.
Most
Because
of the time.
yeah, because you meet the person. If you just online, and especially, I mean, back then there was no video, so I couldn't see Nick. But if Nick was a little bit of a smart ass,
Oh,
and
no,
I
not
don't
me.
know,
If
and I
you
don't know
were.
him, you react sort of like in the same way. And some online fights were getting to the point where it was really, really bad.
Toxic.
Yes. And the minute there was a conference somewhere or whatever, and he said, okay, I'm going to be there, and yeah, I'm going to be there too. And we meet, suddenly, oh, so it's a real person. And things just change. I like it.
I've got a similar situation going on right now. It's very interesting, and I do like to dig into the social aspects of these things because I find them to be somewhat interesting some of the time. I'm a I'm a wannabe woodworker. I've been trying to learn how to do it for the past 25 years now. I'm finally having a little success since I got my table saw set up. And so as part of that, I'm online with a bulletin board, I guess is still the name we call it, a forum of woodworkers, primarily based in the Southeast. And a lot of these guys are codgers, old codgers. Amazing that they even know how to work a computer, I guess. And they certainly aren't social media mavens. But what's interesting is that I would post some things, and there's this guy who always has to reply to everything I say. And I mean, sometimes he just wants to argue for the sake of argument. I finally blasted him one day. I said, look, there's a function in this software called ignore. All you got to do is click on it and you won't see anything I write. Would you please consider putting me on ignore? And and the thing is the guy is very knowledgeable. And I mean, there's no question he has a lot to contribute, but he just would follow me around. And he said, "No, no, no, no." He said, I'm sorry. I don't mean for it to come across that way. That's not what I mean. The reality is he's just trying to be challenging and he's just not very socially adept. He doesn't do it in a way that I would do it. And so at some point I take offense to it. I finally did a little research on him, and this guy's 70 years old. I'm thinking we're sitting here thinking, and this is actually a really good point I hadn't thought about. But whenever we see somebody post something in just text, we naturally assume there's some 30-year-old punk kid being a smartass. And
Mhm.
here it was, I'm attributing these comments to some 30-year-old smartass, and it's a 70-year-old guy with a few social skills.
And a lot of experience.
Extreme lot of experience. The guy, let me tell you something. This guy, I believe, used to be a chemist when he worked in industry because you ask question about why doesn't this chemical remove this glue? Well, that's because the chemical bonding between the such and such. I mean, it's just fantastic information. And that's why I hesitated so long to write this thing about why don't you just ignore me? It wasn't long after that we went to a class last weekend, and the guy who was running the class posted a bunch of pictures. And this guy came in and said, "Hey, wait a minute. Where's the picture of Mike? I want to see what Mike looks like." I'm sitting there saying, "Here we go again. What does he care what Mike looks like? I've never seen what he looks like, nor do I care what he looks like." It all illustrates the point that the interaction through that computer is different from the interaction in person,
Mhm.
is different from the interaction in text messaging. I have a buddy this week who I went to lunch with because he's having a family issue, not his immediate family, but his extended family, actually his wife's family. And this guy's he's old like me. he started saying, "Well, what would you think? What do you think they mean by this?" And I finally told him, I said, "Throw that phone in the trash can. Either go see them, or if you're going to use the phone, call them and talk to them. Quit text messaging this crap. Nobody has a clue what the attitude is with regard to these responses. You don't know what they mean. They don't know what you mean. Stop doing it." Okay. Then he quits. Then he sent a few more text messages.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, just laying it out there for what it's worth. It is an undesirable aspect to computers in that it depersonalizes the relationship. Sometimes that's good.
In some cases, you can't help it because you may be on two sides of the world, and that's the only thing. But at least today we have the video, so you can see the other person, and it helps. It makes it brings it closer.
But yes, I agree. But my point I'm going to stick to is that don't let it be a substitute for personal relationships. What I'm saying here is let's say that like Steve, I've never met Steve. Steve's one of my favorite people. I like Steve a lot. I would love to sit down and have a few hours party and meeting and so forth with Steve.
Mhm.
That'd be great. But that doesn't mean since he's thousands of miles away, I'm not going to stop interacting with him because of that.
No.
What do you do is you don't, this is getting heavy. What that means is that I still need to make sure that I continue in-person relationships. It's nothing wrong with having a long distance relationship like that with Steve, but don't let that be my only relationship. Get
Right.
out and circulate with other people for business and for personal reasons.
Yep.
Right. I agree. And butting in here is, I mean, all the social media, texting, all the technology that has uh, that is being built for the past 2 decades, right? I think they augment personal relationship in a fantastic way, as long as they don't replace them. I agree.
Yeah. It's these are add-ons.
Yeah.
Okay, but I've got to challenge this though.
Uh-oh.
So, right, but I mean that's inevitably going to change over the next 20 or 30 years. It may become the primary relationship.
I mean, it may be,
I
but
probably will be, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't think so.
I don't think
I
it'll
don't.
ever happen. I'll tell you why, Nick. And it's a good point because there are universal truths. There are things that will never change without regard for technology, without regard for politics, without regard for a lot of things. And for example, you'll never be able to have children online.
Not until Mark
No,
Zuckerberg makes something for Facebook.
Just telling you.
don't say never.
I will say never in our lifetime. How about
Maybe.
I mean, even if you do it through the mail, it still requires some level of personal interaction.
I didn't
So,
say the only. I just said the primary. I would say the
I-
most primary.
and I will tell you that I won't be here to prove my point and say I told you so, but what I'm telling you is that if it ever happens, maybe in 1,000 years, society can adapt to it. But I am just telling you, there are universal truths that have been in effect since Adam and Eve, and they're not going to go away 1,000 years from now. There's certain things with human interaction that are important. For example, you've got to eat, you've got to sleep. You don't have any choice. How much you eat and how much you sleep, those are variables, but you have to do it, and you have to do it on a regular basis. There are certain points of human physical interaction that are required that we probably don't even understand right now.
Well, it's just because we don't have the right drugs yet.
Well, it could be. I mean, Michael Jackson, I guess, had it all figured out.
All right.
Interesting.
So,
I've got one quick thing.
yes.
Why you?
What?
Nothing.
Reddit was hit. Reddit was there was a security breach on Reddit earlier this week, and hijackers were able to get access to a copy of the user database from like 2006 or 2007. So it was old data, but they got access is they were able to get access to a couple of Reddit employees' accounts and get access to these database dumps. Um, these employees had two-factor authentication on, but these hackers hijacked the SMS login system and redirected the two-factor authentication key to themselves, so they were able to log into the account, which I thought was interesting because there's this notion that if you use two-factor authentication, you're unhackable. Oh, if once I have two-factor, nobody can get into my accounts. That's
That's not true.
That's not
Right.
true.
Right.
If somebody's got the knowledge and the will and the system is set up correctly, they're able to redirect the text messages through some type of spoof. I don't know how they did it, and
Well,
were able to log in.
note that the weak point here is the text messaging.
Yes, the SMS system.
Right. So two-factor authentication works best when there isn't another system between you and receiving the number, right? So using a Google Authenticator or Authy or one of those applications, right? That's less of a risk. There's always a risk. Everything is hackable. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that, yeah, right. But the complexity of hacking that is much more.
Yeah.
The reason is because it's setting up something that the two parties know in advance and have agreed upon, right? And it is ever changing. And once, if you can't get that, then you're
Yeah.
safe. But
The two-factor that is just it's like you have one lock on your door or two locks. Somebody wants to come in, they will go through two locks. Yeah, if you keep changing, that's a different story.
Yeah.
True.
I just thought it was a note that
It's
all those systems are not impervious to
No.
flaws.
Absolutely. They
there's-
are just as, yep.
So I just interesting. Not really any.
Before we
other
go,
points.
Gall, I had another question for you. The son of one of my friends graduated. I don't know what the degree is in, but it's in IT, and he's very dead into security. He graduated a year and a half ago. He can't find a job. What's the job market like for computer security right now in this area?
InfoSec.
Huh?
InfoSec. It's
I don't know what that
but
is.
it's information security is kind of the buzzword.
I don't really know about the market here, as being right now a visa worker, right? So I've never really explored, but let's talk about it offline. We'll see what we can find out
The
for
reason
you.
I ask is I'm going to meet with him this week. He wants me to look at his resume. He's kind of desperate because he said he's been on several second interviews where he was one of the last of about three candidates, and in several cases he has not gotten the job. So he must have good qualifications and at least interview fairly well, but for some reason he's not making the final cut. And he wants me to interview him and see if I see anything, like if he picks his nose or something like that.
Maybe he's a Mac user.
No, I talked to him last night, and uh, I mean, I remember when he was born. It's kind of odd, but he seems to know his stuff at enterprise level security. From what I know, I mean, he could fool me on the phone, but I mean, maybe. Well, think about it. I'd like to know what the job market is like. I don't want to.
Well, I don't know about again InfoSec specifically. I don't know about the job market, but I think one particular problem he's probably facing because of his lack of real experience, right? In the job market, he might be aiming too high for an entry level.
Well, he did initially right when he graduated. He actually had a couple of job offers. The dollar figure was below what his friends told him he was worth, so he turned them down, and now he can't get a job.
That's
That's
tough.
That's probably a mistake. Always take the lower paying job and then look for a higher one, right?
Well, I mean, that may be true. It's not always true, but it could
Yeah.
be true. But I mean, I'd rather have a job making 20 than not making 30.
Exactly. And I mean, he can always start in a different niche, like support or IT, working with that industry, making use of his knowledge. Just find the right place to start in where he can grow. I wouldn't go to IBM and start in an entry level job, because that's not a growing company. That's a huge company, but it's pretty stale. But I would look for, mid-level enterprises,
Where would you look?
um, places where they have below 2,000, 1,000 employees, 500 employees,
Because I mean, the
or
ones with
startups.
1,000 or more, they're backfilling with people they're trying to get rid of, right?
No, those with 1,000, it depends on their growth rate, right? But those with 10,000, they are definitely cutting. So
And so they're finding jobs for the people they're cutting in some cases.
well, some of the time, but the huge companies, getting there at entry level can be rough, can be really, really rough. I wouldn't recommend it as a first working experience, because I think you get a skewed view of the world and then it hunts you for the rest. Start in a mid-sized or a small-sized company, because that will allow you the most potential. But the infosec is, you won't see a lot of small companies looking for infosec people. So I'm guessing companies which are 500 to 2,000 employees, that are doing fairly well in the last couple of years, definitely look for those and just start knocking on doors.
InfoSec.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he should check out meetup.com. I know there's even a couple infosec groups down here in Wilmington. There's got to be a million of them in Raleigh.
He's not in Raleigh. He's in the west. He's halfway between us.
What's the big
Wherever
city that
he
he's in?
is,
Mike?
What?
What's the big city that he's near?
Probably Greenville.
Greenville? Yeah, there's got to be an infosec group. I mean, Christ, there's one in Wilmington. There's got to be one over there.
Well, that's probably his other part. In North Carolina, outside the triangle, not a lot of options.
Oh, he'll move. He doesn't care.
So definitely have him focus on the triangle.
Well, if he wants to come down to Wilmington, there's an infosec meetup August 8th, Wednesday. 8 people going on meetup.com.
Well, this is what we were just talking about. Even if everybody there's looking for a job, it's always good to put a face and a name together and to network.
Oh yeah, definitely.
let's see.
I'm not. Somebody's calling.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Gene.
Hey, Gene.
I got some information for Mike.
Hit me.
Yeah, Mike. I have some associates, a couple of them in North Carolina State, and I'm still president emeritus of a society down there and stuff like that. And there's a lot of them are computer and technology people, and they're telling me that there's a great demand for IT in this area, and it's being met mostly by foreigners, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
As an example, this one organization is a graduate student program called MC, Integrated Manufacturing Systems Engineering Institute. And I've been involved in it for years and years. And it always had about 40 or 45 students trying to get their master's degree and also doing work while they're here. And it was, when it started, I recall it was probably 80% to 90% US and 10% foreign. I went to the last meeting that they had, and I want to tell you, it was just the opposite. It was 95% foreign, 5% US. All these people are here on visas, and they're getting the jobs because US guys are not taking engineering, and they're not getting into IT. And so they tell me at North Carolina State, there's a great demand for any IT positions down here in the Triangle area.
How do you find them?
Well, I'd contact somebody there if I was you, and I'd basically talk to them about it. I mean, look at the companies you've got. And even Apple's probably coming here, but look at the companies you've got around the area. I mean, you got all Cisco, and you got IBM, and you got, and on and on and on. You got SAS, and you got all kinds of
Yeah,
organizations
Gene, I
in this
hear you.
area, at least there's Final Farm.
I
Yeah,
hear
what'd
you,
you say?
but I know people who have applied to these companies, and if you don't make through the scanner at Indeed.com, they won't even know you submitted them a resume.
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Almost, if not all of these companies have gone to online job application services. And what they do is when they get these, it's really lazy HR departments that have motivated the change, in my opinion. And what they do is when you submit a resume, they have software that looks for certain keywords and the way you've worded things and certain things. And if you don't, you can be the perfect candidate. If you don't use the right keywords, they won't even look at your application. The old days of you walk in the door and talk to the HR person and say, look, I'm hungry. I'm ready to go to work. What can you do? Well, I'll do whatever you need to be done. What are you too good to do? I'm not too good to do anything. I mean, those days are gone. You can't do that anymore. In fact, a really good friend of mine's called me a couple of days ago saying that his niece had graduated from college. I guess I guess she graduated in May, and no openings at all that seem appropriate for her degree. I said, well, what's her degree in? Psychology. I said, well, she needs to go back to school. No, you don't do anything with a psychology degree anymore, unfortunately. But the point being that he said, where do you apply? I said, you're stuck to all these online services. He said, well, he's old like me. So he says, started this old idea. He said, well, what if you go out and do a blitzkrieg of personally delivering your resume to the companies? I said, they won't even let you pass the receptionist. They'll give you a note that says, here's where you handle our online jobs. We don't do it in person anymore. I said, it's gone. Now, there are small companies that still do it the old fashioned way because they're not big enough or interested enough in using the online services. But I mean, if you wanted to work with Nick and you walk into Nick's boss and hand him a resume and said, I want Nick's job, and you don't blow up transmitters, you'd be considered.
You could take it.
I can tell you
Yeah.
one thing. Jason, our Jason here, started with a
He's
headhunter, and he found a job, and he stayed at that job for a while, and then he started looking for more. I mean, he changed jobs now about 4 or 5 times in the last 6, 7 years, and he's getting a better one and a better one, but he's working. So he started with a headhunter, I think.
Yeah, well, he hasn't posted anything, so I don't know if he's listening. I don't want to swell his head, but he's really, really smart.
Well, but the point here is there is always a job for anybody who is looking for a job.
I agree,
The
Amnon.
problem is to find it, right?
They make that same thing we've been
Yeah.
talking about. The
Yeah,
hard
so-
part is making
so,
that connection.
When you go to a headhunter, it's like if you're looking for an apartment, you can go and hit doors and go to all the apartment complexes in your area and see if they have something, but you don't do that anymore.
But
You go if
I'll
you
tell you though, Amnon, and I'm telling you from personal experience from years ago, headhunters are like real estate agents. They're
Yeah.
looking for a quick sell.
well, that's fine, but they'll find you something
No,
because otherwise they're not going to
No.
make money.
no. If you're not the perfect candidate, yeah, I mean, if you're not in a wheelchair and missing a leg
Well-
and whatever goes along with these things, if you're not the perfect placement, they're going to work on the quick money first. And if they get around to you, they may or may not find you something. Chances are they won't. If there's any problem with your resume, such as a DWI or a gap in your employment or being from New York or any of those disabling factors,
Hugh.
what? Then they're not going to waste their time on you. That's not quick money. They're all after. There's like advertising agencies. They're looking for easy money. Just
There you
telling
go.
you.
Tell him to open his own business.
I did. It's
Yeah,
exactly what I told him.
listen, Mike, and then I'll get off. I was just responding to whether there's a demand in the area, and there is a terrific demand in the area. I want to tell you that. Now, how you
Okay.
get at that demand, headhunter, through a university, contacts, knock on doors, I don't know. I mean, at the time I did a lot of recruiting, it was basically going to colleges and recruiting people that are going to graduate.
Right.
And all good tech companies did that. But,
Yes.
but as far as, I'm just calling in to tell you that anybody that tells you that there isn't a need for computer and IT technology, or there aren't jobs in this area, it's crazy. There are. And I
Well, no,
want to tell you
I
they're
agree
being
with
filled
you.
by foreigners, not U.S. not U.S. guys.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and your perspective makes a lot of sense on that. What I didn't know is that, for example, and the reason I asked the question, the only reason that it hit a nerve with me is because about 7, 8 years ago, or whenever it was, I don't know when it was, time flies, but Wake Tech came up with a game writing, game development curriculum where they had a 2-year degree in game development. And when it started, they were getting landmark uh, stories in the newspaper of all places about how great they were doing. They had a 99% placement upon graduation. My son loved video games. He decided he was going to get into the program. He got into the program. He completed about a year and a half of it. And all of a sudden, none of their guys was getting hired. For some reason, it's almost like they had leprosy or something. They couldn't get the attention of any of the game development companies. So he changed into another program.
Oh,
So my point, reason I brought that up is I don't know whether this kid's education looks bad on a resume. I don't know any of that stuff. I know that being out of work for a year and a half, most employers will look at that with a really bad view, because I mean, to me, and I've hired probably 1,000 people in my lifetime, I'm not as sensitive to gaps in employment as some people are, but some, if you've got any gap at all, they won't touch you. And personally, I guess the reason I'm not as sensitive to a gap is that, let's say that somebody comes to me and says, I'm in IT, but I didn't work for IT for the last year. I've been working at McDonald's. They get credit for that in my book, because that means they're not too good to do what needs to be done to get the job done, which means feed your family.
Well,
Yep.
I can make this offer to you, Mike. I have, like I say, a couple of good associates down there, and if he wanted to come in with his resume, I could arrange a sit down with them, and they could take a look at it and give him some advice if you wanted to do. I think they
I
do
would-
do that for me as a favor.
I would absolutely appreciate that, because his father has been a friend of mine since 1990. He's a good guy. He means well. They've got good values. I
so
haven't met this
do you
kid in
have
years.
do you have Gene's? Can you guys communicate?
No, I was going to ask him if he had my email address. If not, you can send it to me, and he can send me his.
Yeah, you can send him mine.
Gene, I'll send you Mike's email address.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and then I'll give him all my contact information.
Okay.
Gene, I do appreciate that. That's very helpful.
Right.
I don't want to find a job for a kid that's no good. I have no idea, but I think he's probably a good candidate.
Yeah, I've done this before, by the way. This is not the
Good.
first time.
I understand. Well, I appreciate it a lot.
Thanks for the call, Gene.
Okay,
Nice to hear from you, Gene.
take care.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All
All
right,
right.
we're late. Thanks, Nick.
I didn't do anything.
I know. Never mind.
This is just, I'm,
I'm just trying to help, Nick.
let's talk about the real problem in this world, being cyberbullied on the internet. That's what's
Yeah.
going on here right now. Cyberbullying.
By older people.
Yes.
Well, that's because we don't have a personal relationship.
All right, guys.
Yes.
We're already way over time.
Thank God we're
Says
not on
who?
the radio.
Says who?
That's
What about all those weeks we started late?
yeah.
It's true. Making up for past time.
Um,
The show
If
shouldn't be driven by time; it should be driven by content. And this last content was very helpful
this
to me.
it's content, absolutely.
So
And if anybody here is interested in streaming and all the what's involved with it, this weekend there's an online stream fest. It's on Facebook and YouTube. Actually, it's on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and just look for Stream Fest, you'll see it, and it's organized by Giles in the UK, and many people from Europe. Very, very interesting. Very good pre-recorded stuff. Pretty good live stuff. I mean, I watched it for a few hours yesterday with different people. It's good. So if you're interested, Streamfest. Anything else anybody wants to add here? No?
Sir.
All right. Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks, Gal, Mike, and everybody in the chat. And good morning to Kathy and Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Nick, you doing the show today?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sounds
sir. 7 o'clock tonight. Nick Craig hosts Against the Norm on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7. And anybody anywhere in the world can listen to him on TuneIn. See you next week, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.